Perfect, and we're live now.
Nice.
Hi everyone, welcome to another virtual shadowing session with Pre-Dental Universe. My name is Tiffany and I will be helping to facilitate today's session with Sherry. We have an exciting presentation today with Dr. Miro. And on that note, feel free to take it whenever you're ready, Dr. Miro.
Awesome. I'm actually going to go live on Instagram right now so that we can get this message of this awesome group out to the world. Hello to everybody out there. Thank you for joining us. I am excited to chat with you all today and kind of just give you a little bit of a snapshot of kind of my life and take you kind of behind the scenes of what you see every day on Instagram, because Instagram can be a little deceiving and it takes a lot of hard work to get to a certain point in your life, which I feel like right now I'm actually getting to. So last night, as I was sitting there reflecting on what pre-dental students would want to hear about, I kind of just started thinking a little bit about the journey that I've been on over the last few years. And it's been definitely a wild ride, to say the least. And if you asked me, in 2006, when I was just getting into college, where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? I probably would not have a good answer for you. I probably would have a lot of unknowns, because at that point in your life, how do you decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life? You may have an idea of, I want to do this, or I want to be a dentist, but what kind of dentist do you want to be? Do you want to, do cosmetic dentistry? Do you want to be a pediatric dentist, an oral surgeon? I think that there are so many amazing parts to this profession. So that's why I'm really privileged to be speaking with you all today. And I am excited, and I hope that it will maybe impact one or two of you that are watching, hopefully a few more. But I think that if it helps even that one or two people, that I've done my job today. So I just want to quickly say thank you for inviting me. Thank you to Sherry, who reached out, and I really appreciate all your help with putting this together. I want to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Andi-Jean Miro. I am a New Yorker through and through. I was born in Staten Island, raised in Brooklyn, and now I reside in Manhattan. I practice on the Upper East Side, and I focus mainly on cosmetic dentistry. For me, that has always been something that has excited me and made me passionate, because it gave me the ability to change somebody pretty instantly. I could walk into a room, look at somebody smile, see something that they maybe didn't see for themselves, and change it. But how I got there, or how I got to this point, has kind of been a little bit of a roller coaster. Again, I get asked this question all the time, like, what's your vision, right? What's your vision for your life? When you're in college and you are just starting out, you, again, may think that you want to be a doctor or a podiatrist or any medical profession. But, it takes a lot of years of hard work. If I go back and start thinking about, undergrad, I think that if I had to think about the 4 years of undergrad, the 4 years of dental school, the 1 year of residency, the years of grinding as an associate, I don't know that I was really thinking so far ahead that I was like, oh, I'm going to do this for the next 10 to 12 years of your life. And then you blink and you're going to be 33 and everything's kind of falling into place, which is good. For me, my path was pretty interesting. And I always say my journey to cosmetic dentistry had a lot of different steps, and a lot of different people played major roles to getting to where I was today. And it kind of all started when I was in college. And when I was growing up, I shadowed my general dentist, Dr. Bill Bongiorno, and he was this bubbly dentist in Brooklyn. And my family had ties to him for a very, very long time. My father was his friend and my mother was his friend, and they would go to dinner. And actually, a really funny story, one thing that a lot of people will never know about me is he actually named me. When my mother and father were pregnant with me, they were at dinner, and his assistant at the front desk, was at dinner, and she had just lost her husband, and she had just had a baby not too far before that. And she's like, if I would have known that Andrew was going to pass away, I would have named my daughter Andi. So that is how long I've known this man. And when you think about the dentist, I always thought about this bubbly person that was my father's friend that, was fun and exciting. And I never thought about the bad part of dentistry because he always made it really fun for me. So when I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I spent some time at his office. And I think this is super critical to any pre-dental student, anybody that's interested in doing any type of dentistry. I think that you have to spend time doing what you love or evaluating it if it's really something that you enjoy. I can't tell you how many people that I've come across in the field of dentistry, either going to dental school or pre-dental students that were not sure if they wanted to be a dentist, but they didn't know why. I mean, you really have to know that this is for you. You have to live and breathe it in a sense. There are a lot of people that I've met along the way that became dentists because their dad or their mom or their uncle were dentists. There's a lot more that goes into it because if you want to be internally happy, you have to have that thing that makes you excited. And when I was working with Dr. Buongiorno, it was something that made me excited. I remember any chance I would get, and he laughs about this, because any chance I would get, I would be in the back with some acrylic and be carving teeth or be drilling on the models because I started to understand that this is something I really enjoyed. And I think as time went on, he saw that I was really serious about dentistry, and he was an instructor at NYU, and he would teach me not only be my assistant or shadow me and watch what I do, but he would start to teach me about the procedures. And I remember, applying to dental school, and this can be a very intimidating time where you are spending a lot of money because you have to pay for all these applications. You are taking your DATs and you're studying, and it's stressful because you don't know how you're going to do on this one exam that's going to control the next couple of years of your life, But I think that, every step of the way, he was very supportive, and he definitely helped me to really realize that this is what I wanted to do. And, I applied to, you got this number ready because it's my lucky number and it's my birthday. I applied to 16 dental schools, okay? And just for the people out there in the Instagram world and the YouTube world, there's probably something like 50 dental schools. So I applied to a good amount of dental schools. And I only got interviews at 4. And when I went on those interviews, very stressful, very intimidating. You're in groups of, hundreds of people, and you have to make an impression. What I didn't tell you was at the time when I was at St. Francis College, in college, I was actually a Division I athlete. I swam and played water polo for St. Francis College. And for me, I'd always thought that was my leg up because I not only was able to balance schoolwork, being a bio, chem major, IT minor, and then being an athlete, working out in the morning, working out in the middle of the day, working out at night, going away on the weekends when I was supposed to be studying for organic chemistry and be sitting in the back of the bus while everybody else was having fun. For me, that was always a big struggle. So when I went on these interviews, they would ask me why do you only have a 3.2? Our dental student mean average is a 3.6 or a 3.7, or, and then they would say to me, what about your DAT scores? Why is it a 18, 19? We want students with 21. And my response would then be to them, I'm a Division I athlete. I have a strict personality in terms of when I need to get something done, I will get it done no matter what the cost. And that has always helped me, even today. Like when I have busy days, I'll stay late, I'll do my work as best I can. And it gives you that extra quality that really you should want in any profession, the person that's going to go that extra mile. And, so when I was interviewing, I remember I was taking all my prerequisites, and one summer, the summer right before dental school, or the summer right before I graduated, I was taking physics. And I was taking physics in Baruch College for the summer. And I remember driving up. I would work all day as a lifeguard. I would drive to the city at night. I would take a physics class from 6 to 9 at night. And every day I would drive past NYU, College of Dentistry. And I would see this sign. It said NYU College of Dentistry, Rosenthal Institute for Aesthetics. And I think the most interesting thing is at that time when I was driving past that sign, did I ever in a million years think that every day I would spend with Dr. Rosenthal, the person that owns or donated that institute, So it's so funny. There's always these little divots, people come together and then they go apart, and they come together and they go apart. So I remember looking at that gold sign every day when I would drive to Baruch College and being like, I'm going to go to NYU. That's where I'm going to go to school. There's no doubt in my mind, that was one of, so obviously Dr. Bongiorno, big influence in my life, seeing that sign every day, telling me I wanted to go to NYU. There was one other thing that I think back on a lot, and there was in one of my first years at St. Francis College, I remember listening to a student who was the first student to get into NYU College of Dentistry, and his name was Joe Pantaleo. And he came back, and Joe doesn't remember this, we're friends now, but Joe came in and he had a notebook, and he was like, this is my notebook from when I was in first grade, kindergarten. When I grow up, I want to be a dentist. And that was his thing. And I just said to myself, I may not have known when I was, in first grade or second grade that I wanted to be a dentist, but I really do enjoy this. And I can see myself being a part of this profession because there were just people that wanted me and wanted to learn, wanted to teach me all of these different things. So, St. Francis was really good to me. I always give back to St. Francis because it's a Franciscan school. They instilled Franciscan values in me. When I graduated, they put my face on a billboard. So awkward. They were like, come, what is your big dream? And I was like, well, my big dream is to be a dentist. They're like, we're putting it on a billboard. I'm like, okay, this is awkward. But, St. Francis was really important because as a pre-dental student, I came out of my college education with no debt because I was a scholarship student. So I had half academic scholarship and a half athletic scholarship, and they really took care of me, which is so critical. But St. Francis, honestly helped me so much. And I remember so many things, when I was applying to dental school. And again, so I applied, let's go back to this. I applied to 16 schools. I got interviews at 4. So if you apply to 32 schools and you get one interview, that's all that matters, that one interview. It may be a lot of pressure, obviously, but, I went to these interviews and I was surrounded by these people that were very intimidating. They had probably these insane resumes. They spent so much time with their academics. Their DAT scores were way higher than mine. And I just remember thinking to myself, I don't have a shot here. And, you should never think that way, because that persistence factor always helped me. When I was at the interviews went well. They weren't terrible. They weren't perfect. I I remember one of my interviews at NYU, the guy had said to me, the interviewer had said to me, you know, Andy, tell me, you shadowed. How many hours did you shadow? And I said, I don't know, something like 5,000 probably. You know, I've been in shadowing for years. And he's like, okay, this should be a really easy question for you. I'm like, okay. He's like, name 5 extraction instruments. And I started knocking them off because at the time I really enjoyed assisting on extractions. And he's like, all right, that was very easy because the last 5 people who told me they shadowed 10,000 hours couldn't even name a single instrument. So, you know, when you're going on these interviews, make sure that you're telling the truth, make sure that you're really honest, you know, be yourself, obviously. And I think that if you have something to show it. Go to that interview super prepared. Have your letter of recommendations. I had such insane recommendation letters from my mentors at St. Francis, and they really helped me to stand out from the pack. However, when I interviewed, I actually got waitlisted at all 4 schools. And this was probably the worst summer from the time I graduated in 2010 until about about May 2010 to about August 28 was like, I graduated, I had this double major, double degree, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror like, what am I going to do with this biology degree? Like, what am I going to do with this, you know? And I just remember thinking to myself, I was at my graduation dinner, I was sitting across from my mother, and my mom's like, come on, let's cheers, let's toast. And I just looked at her and I'm like, to what? Like, I didn't get into dental school. I didn't hit that mark that I had set for myself. And being a competitive swimmer your whole life, to not hit that mark, to not make it to that podium, it was all for nothing, it felt like. But I was really persistent. I continued to reach out to, I remember, and don't do this because Dr. Mejia at NYU will be very angry. But I looked up Dr. Mejia's personal email. I would call her every single Friday, and I would call her direct phone number. I would be like, Dr. Mejia, who's the Dean of Admissions at NYU, I wanted to tell you all the things I learned this week. Like, I just want you to know, I'm super passionate. Like, I really still want to go to NYU. Like, if you let me, like, anything I could do, I want to be there. And she eventually got really upset that I was calling. And she said to me, you know, Andy, when I want to talk to you, I will call you. And she hung up on me. After that, I was a little afraid to call back, needless to say. And I didn't. I moved on and started pursuing UPenn and Temple and UMDMJ. And I started calling and harassing those directors of admission. And I ended up getting into UPenn and Temple University pretty late in the beginning of August, so midsummer. And in my mind, I did not want to go to UPenn. I did not want to go to Temple. Like, I just saw myself in New York City. I'm a New Yorker, like, through and through. Like, how could I not end up where I saw myself? And I remember the night before I was moving in at UPenn. So I had given my money, I had given like $10,000, I rented an apartment, and I remember moving in at UPenn. And the night before, it just didn't feel right. Like, if you ever get that like gut feeling in your stomach, like, this is not where I belong. Like, I belong at NYU. I sat there at like 2:30 in the morning after packing up all of my belongings, and I wrote this letter to Dr. Mejia, an email. And I said, you know, Dr. Mejia, I'm sure you remember me. I know that it's been a while since we've spoken, but I'm moving in at UPenn tomorrow. And I know that this is not where I belong. If there is any chance in this entire world that you see me at NYU, like, it's now or never. And I told nobody that I wrote this email because I was just like, I had to put myself out there. I had to take that chance. Like, if you don't ask, it's never going to happen. Like, you have to put yourself out there in that way. And I remember the next day moving in and just being so absolutely depressed because I hadn't heard from her and I told nobody. And I remember moving a couple boxes upstairs, bringing some ACs upstairs, and signing the lease to my new apartment. And then I see my phone ring, and it's a 212 area number. And I look at the phone, and I just was like, this is it. This is the call that's going to change everything. And she answers. She's like, Andy, this is Dr. Mejia. And I said, Dr. Mejia, how are you? She's like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I'm doing. I'm moving in at UPenn. Like, she's like, well, she's like, the dean of admissions at UPenn is my friend, and she's going to be very angry at me right now. But I will say, and I want to tell you, congratulations, you've been accepted to UPenn, to NYU. And I just lost it. Like, I could not believe I'd had a going away party. I packed all of my belongings. I was moving. And then everything just changed. And that was the moment, that first moment that set me on this path to where I am today. I have so much appreciation for that. And I think back on that phone call so often because it really just changed my life. And I've had several encounters along the way with Dr. Mejia where I've helped her and, you know, done some interviews for her and stuff like that. And I remember my day of graduation later on, her saying to me, she's like, you know, I always was going to accept you. You were just one of the most persistent people I've ever met. And it was a really cool ending to the story. But let's move on. So pre-dental students out there in the world, you're dying, right? You want to get into that dental school. You want to be a dentist. So what happens when you actually get into dental school, right? Like, you've come so far, you've studied, and now you're here. Now what, right? My first semester of dental school was probably the hardest half of year of my entire life. What you learn an entire year in undergrad, you sometimes cover in the first week of dental school. So the sheer volume of how much we were learning was super hard to adapt to. And I remember thinking to myself, like, maybe like I made it this far and maybe I can't go any farther. And that's okay to think that. And, you know, I know we have probably some D1, D2 students out there that are watching this on Instagram as well. You know, dental school is not easy. And you have to go into it with the mindset of, I can do pretty much anything. I can learn this. I can learn how to pick up a drill. We all can. If I can, you can. I think that it definitely takes persistence, and that really is the most important quality that you have to have, because in this profession, you have to be the same way. You have to be persistent. You have to always strive for more knowledge. Otherwise, what's the point, you know? So I'm at NYU Dental School. First year, first semester, there is a man that is on stage for one of the first lectures that we ever heard. And this man's name was Dr. Larry Rosenthal. And I remember he gets up on stage, and he was one of the most magnetic speakers I've ever heard to date. I've seen hundreds of lectures, different people from all over the world, but there was nobody that could command a stage the way that he could. I listened to this lecture, and he was talking about this thing called cosmetic dentistry, which until this point, I equated cosmetic dentistry with, fake Hollywood looking veneers or, fake looking teeth. And I remember he put some videos and some pictures of his clients and his patients and his friends up on the screen. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that is an amazing dentistry. Like, that looks like real teeth. Like, I want to do that. I want to do what he does, you know? And I'll always remember this because it was one of the most crucial parts of the lecture. He said, after putting a video of this really good-looking guy on the screen, talking about his teeth and about how girls think he's more sexy with these teeth and all this stuff. And I remember saying to myself, like, this guy really has some energy that, like, I want to be, like, closer to this human because he just is so positive. At the end of the lecture, he says, if you want to come shadow at my office, here's the phone number, here's the email, call my office manager, Jackie, like, come see us. And he just got swarmed. Like, there's 350 people in my first freshman year, and 350 people were on top of him. Like, I want to be closer. And so I definitely was not climbing over those 350 people. And I just said to myself, okay, let me just keep this in the back of my mind. I'm sure that our paths will cross again, and I'm not worried about this. You know, as I went on at NYU, I came across a couple of people that were really important in my growth. One of them was my mentor, my senior mentor, Dr. Alex Schauman, who is still a very good friend of mine. I hope Alex will eventually see this and hear the shout out because I love him as a human being. And I think that he was one of those other people in my life that introduced me to things that were so outside of what I was comfortable with and pushed me to be better. And Alex was the president of the Aesthetics Club at NYU. And he brought in a speaker for the club named Dr. Michael Appa. Now, Dr. Michael Appa, to a D2 student, comes in a three-piece suit, like really suave, gives this intro that to this day, I still know the beats of the song that he was given, like the song that was playing as his intro video was playing, because I was just looking at this video like, oh my God, like, who is this guy? He went on to talk about cosmetic dentistry and doing it in New York and in Dubai. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, this guy reminds me of Larry Rosenthal. I had no idea that they were partners. I had no idea that these two people had spent the last 15 years of their lives together treating patients from all over the world. And I remember sitting in that lecture, and it's so funny because I think back and I had a picture of this classroom where Alex, my mentor, is sitting over here. Dr. Calamia, who became my mentor after that, was sitting here. Dr. Appa is lecturing here. I'm over here. And right here in the front is Dr. David, who is our Dubai associate. So this is another snapshot in time that it really represented a lot in dentistry for me because it had such an impact. Like, I want to do cosmetic dentistry. And I realized that very early on in dental school. It was, and still, like, I laugh about this because when you're in dental school, you get very few opportunities to do cosmetic dentistry. I was super fortunate to be in a program called the Honors in Aesthetic Dentistry program. And this program at NYU is super rare because it only accepts about 15 out of 350 students. And those 15 students get to do cosmetic cases on a level that is so outside of your typical dental school experience. You know, I was doing full mouth reconstructions in my 4th year of dental school, and I had a case every week that I was prepping, and I was learning these fundamentals of cosmetic dentistry from people like Michael Appa, who would come in and teach, from people like Larry Rosenthal, who would give lectures for the program. And, you know, it was guided by people like John Calamia, who in dentistry, I know I'm talking to a bunch of pre-dental students right now, and Instagram, of course, but in dentistry, if you think about the Steve Jobs of dentistry, if you think about the people that started it first, Dr. John Calamia is an absolute legend. He's the reason why we can bond a piece of porcelain to a tooth and it can stay for 20 years. So this is somebody who was my mentor. And I remember being in my fourth year, and my fourth year dental school, we would present and we would give lectures. And I remember sitting in the 8th floor at NYU with Dr. Calamia, and he would tear apart my lectures. He'd be like, that line is too thick. This has to be this way. You see the picture is crooked. Turn it that way. Do this way. Present yourself in the best way possible. And he was somebody that was like the most important person at that point, because he was the one giving me the guidance to be better and to look for all of these fine little details that other students may have missed or other people may have missed when they were treating patients. And I'm so appreciative and thankful for that person. And I think the trending thing that I'm trying to show you as pre-dental students is you have different people that are going to come into your life, and they're going to go in and out of your life. And everybody's going to give you a little something. And I think having really good mentors is super critical. They're going to be the people that can guide your vision. They're going to be the people that when you're down, they're going to pick you up. They might push you down sometimes. Maybe you need it. Having people like that aren't afraid to tell you the good from the bad is crucial to being successful. When I was finishing up at NYU, I had to definitely move on to do a residency because I knew I wanted to work in New York City. What a lot of people don't know is during my 3rd and 4th year, I actually spent a lot of time at the Abbott Rosenthal Group. And I will tell you this story really briefly because it's kind of one of those moments again. I remember we were doing an event for the Aesthetics Honors Program, or Aesthetics Society, sorry. And we were bringing in lectures from all over the place. And it was a symposium, it was a big event. And it was run by my friend Alex. And he was bringing lectures in from all over the world. And it was going to be one of the biggest events NYU had ever seen student run. And I remember Dr. Rosenthal seeing an ad for an event that he was throwing called Aesthetic Advantage. And I said to him, I reached out to Jackie, I'm like, hey, you don't know me, but I've seen Dr. Rosenthal lecture a bunch of times. I'd love to invite you to our little vendor fair. Maybe you can get some signups, maybe you can sign up some students, and we can offer some discounts to the faculty. This way you can fill your event and I can fill my event. Fine. He comes and I go over, I introduce myself to him. And I'm talking to Dr. Rosenthal for maybe 20 minutes. And 20 minutes uninterrupted with Dr. Larry Rosenthal, I didn't know at the time, that's pretty impressive because this man gets interrupted at every point that he walks. And I remember at the end of the conversation, he gave me his business card. And his business card was like this cool, sleek little business card. And it was like rectangular. Who has a rectangular business card? I don't even, this tiny little bar. And he gave it to me and he's like, listen, you should come to the office, you should see what we're doing. And of course I came to the office. I remember walking in and Jackie saying to me nice to meet you, please don't speak to the patients because we have to be really careful. Patients are paying a lot of money to be here, please just observe and be respectful. And I said, okay, no problem, that's not a problem. I remember being in the office and Dr. Rosenthal having a problem with his camera. And I said to him, I'm like, let me have that. And I started taking pictures. And that was my in a sense, because from that moment on, he made me take pictures all day. At the end of the day, he tried to give me $100. And I just said to him, I don't want your money. Just let me come back and learn from you. That's all I want. And I came back every week for 3 years because I just wanted to learn as much as I could. And some of the things that I learned from him were not necessarily dental. Like some of the things were just like how to talk to a patient, how to make a patient feel comfortable. Like dentistry is not fun sometimes, but it could be fun if you make it fun. And I learned that from him very early on. So I graduated dental school. At this time, I lived in Staten Island, and I would commute to dental school. And it was like 2-hour a day commute, and it was terrible. I did my residency in Brooklyn at a hospital in Brooklyn. My residency year was very tough for me because I knew that was not the type of dentistry that I wanted to do. And I did get a lot of opportunities in that program, which was amazing, but it was not what I was seeing when I was going to shadow. And I think that's a huge part of shadowing and spending time in different offices is trying to understand what you want in dentistry. Because dentistry, you can do drill and fill dentistry, you could be a cosmetic dentist, you could be an oral surgeon, you could be a pediatric dentist. You can do whatever you want in this field. But I think that for me, cosmetic dentistry was the thing that made me happy. And I was really fortunate to find that very early on. So that year was a little tough, mentally, physically, emotionally. I was working a lot. I was on call. I was in a trauma hospital where I was doing jaw fractures at night. And, it just really it cemented the fact that cosmetics was what I wanted. And, at the time, I was shadowing, and I remember I was coming to the end of I'm actually going to pull this up. I was coming to the end of my residency year, and it was April 21st, and I have that day in my calendar as the day that changed my life, because that was the day that I was asked to join the Appa Rosenthal group. And at this time, the practice had changed hands, and Dr. Rosenthal had sold it to his partner, Dr. Appa, and Dr. Appa was the main partner. And I remember one day, Dr. Appa asking me to come into the office and talk to him. And I thought I had said something wrong to a patient. I thought I was getting kicked out, I didn't know. And he's like, sit down, I have this idea for you. And that idea means you coming here, you being a part of this place. We think that you're already part of this place. You're a little bit a part of our family already. So we think that you'd be a nice fit after you graduated from your residency. And that was the day that changed everything. The course of my entire life was completely changed forever, because it really set me on this path towards becoming the best version of myself in so many ways. Being surrounded by Dr. Rosenthal, Dr. Appa on a daily basis, and constantly having those people that will show you and guide you. It's worth more than words to me, truthfully. So at this time, I was commuting from Staten Island, and the commute was 2.5 hours each way. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I commuting 2.5 hours each way? Like, this is going to kill me. Like, I can't do this forever. And at some point I said to myself, like, I can't really afford it, but I'm going to have to move to the city at some point. So I moved to the city, and I just said to myself, like, this is it. I'm moving to the city. I may not have enough money to do this at this time, but I have to be in the city because my life is going to change when I move to the city, because I'm putting myself in that position to be more successful. About a week later, at this point, I'd been part-time at this office, and I was just, seeing patients for emergencies, and I was seeing patients for emergencies, and I was learning the ropes, and I was paying my dues, and, the next week after I moved to this city, I actually became full-time in the office. And it was a perfect timing of things. Like, I moved into an apartment I probably couldn't afford. I was spending probably close to 14 hours a day in the office just trying to keep up with things. And this was like the perfect time. And I put this picture in my lecture all the time. It's a picture of the group that I practice with, and I call them my family because they are my family. I work a lot of hours. You're going to work a lot of hours as pre-dental students. You're going to work a lot of hours as dental students. You have to enjoy the people that you work with. I remember when I was in dental school, I had a great friend of mine, my friend Dima, who was my study partner for 4 years. I probably would not be a dentist if it wasn't for him sitting there lecturing to me or reading the transcripts out loud because I would fall asleep. And, I think that you build this family, and I'm very fortunate to be a female cosmetic dentist in this practice in the Upper East Side, doing something that I love with people that are just beyond talented in so many ways. I'm going to play this video that somebody made for me, and I'll flip the camera so that you guys can see it on Instagram also.
I remember my first day, Dr. Rosenthal picking up the camera and trying to take a picture. And he was having a little trouble. And I just reached out to him and I said, hey, let me do that. I can do this. And I just started snapping a couple pictures of the patients. And at the end of the day, he said to me, I want to give you some money for your time. And I said, no, just let me come back. And I guess you could say I kept coming back from then on. I spent hundreds of hours behind a computer looking at photos. And watching Dr. Rosenthal and Dr. Appa's cases from start to finish and really learning through taking photographs was key for me. If I didn't see how to do something right away, I would take a picture and I would superimpose them onto each other. And I would try to understand what they were seeing when they looked at a patient. There's something about getting that right photo, that photo that just showcases all of the passion of what we do, all of the hours that our ceramists spend on making these beautiful, amazing porcelain veneers, all of the hours that it has taken me to get to this point to be able to execute a case. It's capturing a moment that just means so much. My name is Dr. Andi-Jean Miro, and I'm a cosmetic dentist at Appa Rosenthal in New York City.
You know what's so interesting to me? I look back on that, and that was probably like 2 years ago. I look back on that video a lot, and I'm so proud to say that I'm a dentist. I'm so proud to tell people that what I do is cosmetic dentistry. For me, it is a combination of all the people that I keep around me. Jim Rohn says all the time, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And the 5 people that I spend the most time with push me to be better constantly. Some of them are in this feed maybe, and watching because they know that I should be better in all ways, and they're going to tell me how I could be better in all ways. And you need that as you're progressing in any profession whatsoever. So I always say, and we're going to get a little bit into cosmetic dentistry to close this up, because I know I'm taking so much of your time, and I just had so much fun talking about like the journey that I forgot that we're here to talk a little bit about dentistry too. But I always say that each patient has a very unique story. And those stories can really be told through dentistry and through photos. If you know me or if you follow me, you know that I am like a bit of a photography nut. Like for me, that is the most exciting thing that I do, because it's more than just getting that perfect before and after. For me, it is that journey for the patient and the effect of this, that doing cosmetic dentistry has on that person. And I think that this really plays into why I push myself to be better all the time. I think that you have to have that clear vision when you're treating patients, just like you have to have a clearer vision in your life. But the truth is, sometimes you can get lost. Like sometimes you can be traveling down a path and you say to yourself, like, I really thought this is what I want. Maybe I have to pivot and I have to go another way. I think that having a type of vision for the type of dentistry that you want to do is super critical. So if you're a pre-dent student out there, go and shadow people, shadow dentists, shadow different types of dentists, because I think that is super important to you being more successful in life. So, and finding that right path for yourself. So a little bit about how dentistry is so different. And one thing that makes us so different as cosmetic dentists in New York City at the Upper Rosenthal Group is we diagnose based on facial analysis. We look at a patient and we think to ourselves, what will changing the teeth have to do with changing the smile? How can I change the teeth into a position that will be beneficial for this patient in so many ways? Meaning, it's going to support the lips a little bit more. If I bring a tooth in, maybe it's going to look less flared. Maybe the teeth will look less big. Facial aesthetics are supposed. Oh no! Did you not see any of my slides? Did you guys not see any of my slides?
No, it's still showing as the first slide.
Oh my God, I showed like 50 slides. Oh, I'm so sad right now. Oh my God.
Okay.
Well, I'll have to cut those back in. Whatever, it's okay. It's not a big deal. Are you seeing it now or no?
Yes, we are seeing it now.
All right, I'll have to leave it like this then. I don't know why it's being. I'm so sorry, guys. I had like such cool slides. I wish you told me sooner. Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll send you these. You guys can look through them. It's not a big deal. I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't know. But it's okay. This is actually the only part of the lecture that you really need to see anyway. So when we talk about beauty, there's a few different things about beauty. There's the patient's view of beauty and there's my view of beauty. And how do we come together and mix those two things together to find a beautiful smile for that patient? We treat patients from all over the world, and everybody's going to have a different viewpoint of what beauty is. Beauty may mean to you thicker eyebrows or balanced eyelashes or high cheekbones or big lips or a symmetrical face. Beauty really is not universal. It's definitely got some sort of cultural edge as well. I think that when you talk about beauty and when you talk about changing something or some part of a patient's face, you have to understand that that will have a big effect on how they perceive themselves. And right now I'm playing this little video in the background for the pre-dental students, and it basically is a video of making somebody that is thought of as the most beautiful person in the world more symmetrical and how much it changes them. In dentistry, the power that we have as cosmetic dentists is to change the face, to change the lips, to change the way that somebody can appear. No video either, huh? Wow, I'm really failing you guys today. I'm so sorry. Can you see this or no?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, we
sorry.
can.
Guys, I'm so sorry that you couldn't see any of this. I feel so bad. However, I hope that you're seeing this picture, and I'm going to flip this camera around just for a second. And, this is so funny.
Yeah, the video is showing now. Thank you.
Oh, it might be a little delayed. Okay. So this is a picture of a before and after, and I think it's so funny that this is right on the eve of Michael Strahan doing his teeth, because this is cosmetic dentistry and it's something that people want, and it's pretty magical to see that when somebody walks in looking like this, that they can leave with a closed space and their teeth looking more symmetrical, and we can see the effect that it has on that person's face. I think that's super critical to everything. I'll show you another patient. This patient came in and she wanted to do something about this missing tooth, and I'm just going to change to the next slide. She wanted to do something about this missing tooth. And in about a week and a half, we took her from looking like that to like that. And I think that being able to change somebody's smile and make it more natural is super critical also. I think every person will have varying degrees of what they perceive as beautiful. Not everybody wants a Hollywood white smile. Some people want to keep it natural. Some people want rotations. And it's important to, when you're thinking about cosmetic dentistry, not have a one size fits all kind of mold of this is cosmetic dentistry and all of my teeth will look the same. There definitely are different gradations of smile makeovers that can happen. You can change people's teeth from being, you know, a little crooked to being a lot straighter in a matter of 2 days. You can do these transformations. You can take a person who has a really narrow smile and you can build their smile out, and it can completely transform their entire smile. Their entire face lights up, and you see it all the time in the eyes. You see a person when they're not happy, their eyes are it's not, I don't want to say their eyes are dead, but their eyes don't have that same shimmer, that person that has that afterglow, that loves the way that they look. Listen, I'm going to come out right now and say it. This year, I started my year and I was 206 pounds. And I said to myself, that is enough. Like, this is not how you want to be. You have to do something about it. And so I've been dieting. I've been losing weight. I've lost 35 pounds this year. And for me, that was what I needed to change. I needed to do that for myself because I wasn't happy the way I looked and felt. It's the same thing with teeth. You'll notice, like, a lot of times when I do patients' teeth, I will do their teeth and, you know, they may come a little overweight to me, and then they come back and they're super skinny. They have new hair. They have a new boyfriend. They are dressing better because it all starts here. It's a little here, but it's a lot here. You know, and I'm definitely super blessed to be doing this. So I love my profession. You will too. If you are a pre-dental student that wants any advice, wants to talk to me, my Instagram handle is @aestheticsbyandi. Please follow me. Please check out my Instagram, and I can always help you in any way that I possibly can. I will close just saying this, that mentors are everything. They will guide you. Find good mentors early in your career that will help you and make you better. You know, just on a closing note, this year, earlier in the year, I actually founded a new company during the pandemic with a good friend of mine, Elon, that we created something that didn't exist in dentistry the way that we saw it. We wanted to make dental education better in so many ways. And we did it. We created a website. We taught ourselves how to design websites by ourselves. We thought about how the whole process would be, the user interface. And this is something that became a passion project of ours. And it came out of a place of love, of we love our profession and we want to make it better. And that's where I'm at now in my career. I love what I do on a daily basis. I want our profession as a whole to be better. And I'm speaking to not only pre-dental students, I'm speaking to dentists on Instagram. I'm speaking to potential patients on Instagram. Dentistry is an amazing profession. If you go to the right people, if you do your research, if you study hard and you want to be the best version of yourself, you have the ability to be. I'm going to close on this and we'll take some questions, and I'll log off Instagram so we can do some fun stuff. A couple years ago, I met Gary Vee, and I've always been a humongous Gary Vee fan. And he has this one quote, and it goes, you look yourself in the mirror every day and you ask, what do I want to do every day for the rest of my life? Just do that. For me, it's dentistry. I love it. I'm super passionate about it. Thank you for spending any amount of time listening to me ranting and talking about my crazy life. I love you all, and I appreciate all of your time for taking time out of your day to listen to me. Okay? See you guys soon. And then let me sign off of this, and then let's talk dentistry. Bye, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, guys. So tell me, I cannot believe that whole time you didn't see any of my lecture.
Yeah, we thought you were just like, I don't know, talking about your experience, but we didn't know.
This is so bad. That's my mentor, Dr. Bongiorno. That's the sign that I would see every day. This was the billboard that they put me on. This is me in my first year of dental school. I was way skinnier then. This is Dr. Rosenthal lecturing in that first year. Dr. Apple lecturing in my second year. Some of the first cases I ever did in my entire career. This is my family, the Apple Rosenthal group. Those are my people. This was kind of where we picked back up, but every patient really does have a unique story. So I want to take some questions. Tell me some things and tell me how I can help any pre-dental student that's out there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Miro. So the first question we have is, how did you get over the intimidation? And do you have any advice for how you would help others get rid of those nerves?
Oh my God, I used to be so nervous. The idea of talking to other people in an interview, it was always very scary for me. But I found that the more that I talk to people, like even right now, like talking over Zoom can sometimes be intimidating. But the more you do it and the more you practice, the better you're going to get at it. So talk to everybody, talk to strangers, talk to everybody you possibly can. And you have to believe in your convictions, right? Like you have to believe in what you're saying to, this person that's interviewing. If I gave you, for instance, like, tell me 3 things about yourself that you want me to know as an interviewer. Like you should practice these types of questions because those are the types of questions that are going to come up in these interviews. They want to know about you. That's your opportunity to shine. So practice. And I'm not saying like be rehearsed. You don't want to be rehearsed. You want it to come from the heart. But think about little topic points that you may want to hit and then make sure you hit them in a more natural way. Hope that helps you.
Thank you, Dr. Miro, for your presentation. Another question we have, with a GPA and a DAT score on the lower end, how else did you stand out on your applications beside being a student athletics to get into dental schools?
So I shadowed a ton. I had a lot of shadowing hours. Like I would say it definitely wasn't 5,000, but it was in the hundreds. And I spent so much time learning from that dentist because I knew that was something that I needed to stand out. Any type of extracurriculars, like if you're running a club, if you're part of a club, like don't just join a club to be a part of a club. Be a part of something that you're passionate about. I was very creative and artistic. So when I came, I had like sculptures that I enjoyed making. So I took pictures of them and I brought that to my interview. Things that are going to make you stand out are things that are like, make you uniquely you, coming from a family that maybe came from some struggle or whatever, like I lost my father very early in my life in my freshman year of high school. And it was something that really shaped me. And I always thought of it not as a disadvantage, but I always thought of it as like, this is the person that I need to prove that I'm like, that I want to make proud. And for me, that was like always going that extra mile, doing student athletics, being part of different clubs at St. Francis. I actually went on like a pilgrimage to Assisi, Italy through my school. I did marine biology in Belize. Like cool experiences like that are going to always make you stand out because they give you great talking points too at the interview because you can talk about that experience,
Thank you, Dr. Miro. So the next question is, do you have any recommendations on how to push oneself to reach like a gold standard quality of work, like potential opportunities for more access? This one person is asking.
Do you mean that like opportunities like before dental school or in dental school? I wonder.
I guess this person was referring to both.
Both, okay. So before dental school, I mean, I would work. Okay, I would shadow in that office, probably Tuesday, Thursday, and then I would go to school, and I'd have a jam-packed schedule Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I was splitting the week, and I was making it so that I could spend a lot of time in that office, but also at the same time, like, pack all my school into one day. So finding what balance is for you, like, even if it's one time a week, you going through and like actually what I would say is like making time for all of those things. That's super critical. In school, in dental school, people used to not like me very much because they would always say to me, like, you have all the cases, you have all the opportunity. But the truth of the matter is I didn't have I had the same opportunity, the same patient pool that you had. I just went that extra mile. So when somebody said that they were interested in cosmetic dentistry, I would go home, I would wax their teeth up on my own time. I would make a matrix, I would put it into their mouth, and I would do a trial smile to show them what the possibilities were, and then they would sign on to treatment. That's going the extra mile. A lot of students would be like, you need veneers. Okay, have a nice day. Like, you have to try a little more than what you were doing, because otherwise, what's the point? You know, like, everybody's going to be that stagnant line. You have to kind of push a little past it, you know?
Thank you, Dr. Miro. Another question is asking, is the depth at NYU worth every bit of it? I know, like, you had the opportunity to not have depth, but for
no, hold on.
Okay.
I have $279,000 student debt and 66 cents. I know the number. No, I didn't have undergrad debt. I have NYU debt. It is pretty dramatic, but what I will say is this. Every school is going to come at a cost, okay? Scholarships in dental school are very few and far in between. You most likely will have to take out student loans unless you have very rich parents, which I did not. You know, it is worth it because NYU is the epicenter, okay? Dentists come from all over the world to New York University to lecture. I mean, this is obviously a little pre-COVID, right? Like, we had in-person lectures. I remember in my third and fourth year, I would sneak into postgraduate lectures, and they would be like, who is this girl? Like, she's always in these lectures. Like, she's definitely not a part of this program. And then they found out that I was a third year. And they're like, you know, like, if you want to come, you're more than welcome to, but don't sit in the back. Like, come sit down by us, you know? And so NYU had a ton of opportunity for me. And I think that it is 100% worth the price tag. I know it's definitely more expensive than it was previously, but I would not change it for the world. I think you get a great clinical experience at NYU. I think it is, you know, I did a residency with students from UPenn, Nova, Toronto, and Pennsylvania, all these different schools. I had so much more experience than all of those students because I came from NYU. Because NYU, the minimal requirements were so much higher than all of these other schools. So definitely worth the price tag. Do it.
Thank you, Dr. Miro. So the next question is, during your third or fourth year during dental school, did you have to find your own patients, or were you given patients during your clinical component? And with that said, how does that contribute to the larger class size of NYU?
We're in NYC. Everybody always asks this question. It's so interesting to me. NYC, there are a ton of people. Even pandemic times, there are plenty of people, okay? You each get a roster, and the roster is usually not such amazing patients as a D3. Like, you're going to get kind of the stuff that the other students didn't want, or patients that no-showed a lot. it's about your persistence. Like, are you going to call these people? They have active treatment plans. Are you going to get them in? Are you going to go that extra mile to make sure that you're going to deliver them great care? Are you going to take care of them? Are you going to call them? Are you going to follow up on them? If you injected somebody that day and you took their tooth out, are you going to call them at that night to check on them? Are they going to feel that you actually care about the treatment that you're giving to them? If they do, they will always come back. If you don't care, they won't care. So I don't think that the amount of students matters at all. I think it's about how good you are to your patients. I have patients to this day that still call me from NYU, like checking in, making sure I'm okay, like great patients and friends that I've made there, you know? So I don't worry about it. I think it is always what you make of it. So if you're going to go the extra mile and you're going to work hard for your patients, they will come in and you will have a plethora of patients. I'm not even slightly concerned. Every student graduates. That's what the end result is. At the end of the 4 years, you graduate. And you can't graduate without doing your requirements. So it all happens. Everybody wants to get you through, you know, they want you to have that clinical experience. So don't stress too much about that. I know a lot of people say that about NYU. I was worried about it too, but it's really not true.
Thank you for clarifying, Dr. Miro. Another question is, how did you learn to sell dentistry the way you do?
Oh, I love this question. That's a great question. I don't consider it selling dentistry. That's first of all. I want to present the best options for every patient. So if somebody comes into me, typically in the practice that I'm in now, they'll meet my patient coordinator. They'll talk a little bit about like what they're looking to do, maybe a budget, right? I never, ever look at the budget because my job, I'm a clinician. You're coming to me with some aesthetic problem that you don't like. And it's my job to look at you and tell you what the best possible treatment is for you. So I always present the best treatment. When a patient says to me, okay, well, I can't afford that, what else can I do? A lot of times, sometimes I'll give them a second option. Many times, I tell them to go home and save until you can do it right, because there's no way we're going to get that look that you want, that aesthetic that you want with just this amount of teeth. It's just not going to work for you. So sometimes rejecting the case is what I do. Sometimes it is working it out where, you know, they can have a little bit of a lesser fee on certain days that I can fluctuate a little bit more. So I really try to help. Like if they're coming in, they've already passed all the barriers of making the phone call, finding out about the fees. They're already in the door. They know how much this is going to cost. They may not have an idea of how many teeth they actually need, but they have a ballpark figure. So a lot of people, once you're in the door, the only thing that's pushing them out the door and making them not come back is us not figuring out a way to make it work for them. And sometimes I'll take a lesser fee if I want to do the case and I want to, and I think the person deserves it. And, you know, like I have that luxury that I can help sometimes in my schedule. So that's nice. But I think that it's not about selling dentistry. It's about giving each patient your best. Okay. It's about showing them the possibilities, and the dentistry will sell itself. I don't need to sell dentistry. I always say that the first person in a consultation, after I do a mock-up or after I show them the possibilities for their smile, the first person to talk loses. So I don't speak. I just let them look at it. And that does it. That's my secret. There's not a secret. I just don't say anything. That's so funny. Everybody always wants to know, how do you sell dentistry? My quirky self. I don't know.
Thank you, Dr. Miro. So the next question is, do you have any advice for the interview process and application process that you wish someone had told you?
Okay. Interview process, you've got to practice talking to people. You've got to run that through a few times. I remember my first interview, I was so nervous. I completely bombed it. I almost started crying in the interview. It was terrible. Don't do that. But I just remember it being so uncomfortable because I wasn't prepared. So try your best to practice as much as you can, talking to other people, practice interview questions. There's a ton of them on Pre-Dent. I remember I was like a frequent, I don't know if it's even still around, Student Doctor Network. I would be on there all the time, like listening, looking at questions from interviews. I would know your strengths, know your weaknesses. They're always going to ask you that question. Well, what are your weaknesses? Who wants to tell their weaknesses? My weakness is that I'm OCD and I am crazy until I get the job done. That's not a weakness. That's like you turning a weakness into a positive. Everybody always has that one, but try to come up with like these kind of quick-witted answers that like show that you're not negative at all. You have no negatives. You are only positives, But I think the biggest thing is practice. Practice talking. Your admissions essay is super important. Make sure there's like that a few people read it. Make sure it's a nice story about yourself, because this is the first thing people are going to read about you. It's super critical, Let's take maybe one more, and then I have to go work out because my trainer is going to kill me. Okay. But go ahead.
Let's see an interesting question. What is the most challenging aspect of dental school?
Time management. Like I said before, when you are in dental school, they can teach you everything you learn in a full year in like the first week, and you have 6-hour block exams. It was nothing like I ever had experienced before. And for me, it was really challenging. Like D1, first year, first semester, I cried every single day because I was so overwhelmed. And then it's about finding what works for you. So I remember sitting there one day and I was sitting in a room alone with another guy. He was one of my friends. And we were studying the same thing, but we're both falling asleep. And he had come over, his name is Dima, he came over to the table, he's like, listen, like, I'm falling asleep, like, are you? I'm like, yeah. I was like, what chapter are you on? And he's like, this one. I'm like, why don't we just read it to each other? And we started reading the lectures out loud, we read the transcripts out loud. And that exam was the first exam I got over an 80 on in the first year of dental school. And I was just like, oh my God. And he did really well too, like, we got the same grade. And I was like, oh my God, like this, and he was having trouble too. He was struggling also. I was like, oh my God, this is working for us. Like, we can do this. And every exam moving forward, like, we would study together. So I would read a transcript, he would read a transcript. And we would remember the conversations that we would have when we were reading the transcripts about like how to remember things. And for me, that was the easiest. From then on, we always got within 1 point of each other. He would get a 90, I would get a 91. Like, he always did better than me, I'm not gonna lie to you. There was like one exam in the entire dental school that I got like maybe 2 points higher than him, but it was always like that. Retain so much information in a short period of time, and just working really hard at it, making sure that this is something that you really want to do. And that's it. All right, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much,
I'm really
Dr.
sorry that didn't work. I feel so terrible. But if you guys ever need anything, I'm a DM away. Instagram me, email me. You guys can give my email to whoever and Instagram to whoever, and I respond to almost every message. So as much as I can.
Thank you so much,
right.
Dr. Myra. It was an honor having you it was an amazing presentation regardless. Like, having to listen to your experiencing is definitely inspiring, and I'm sure a lot of people are inspired and they will push a little harder and will be persistent.
I appreciate it. If you ever need anything, I'm always a message away. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Tiffany, Sherry. Have a nice one, okay?
Thank
Enjoy.
you too.
Bye.
Bye, Dr. Myra.
Bye.
To everyone who is still on, we will be posting our post-session quiz in our GroupMe chat, and be sure to tune in to our next session on Saturday at 10 a.m. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Goodbye.